Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular meeting for North Branford Planning and Zoning for Thursday, November 21st. In attendance are regular members, it's DeFrancisco, May, Sienna, and Dulac. First order of business, and everybody should have a copy of the minutes on the table. Let's see who was here. Just Bill wasn't here, so, let's see. Zone change, we closed the public hearing on those, correct?
Yes,
Or maybe
on the
someone
zone
yeah, we
changes.
closed that one, and then closed that one 4-0. Alex, is that the one that you said out of, the first one? Just wanna make sure, for,
Yes.
486, right?
Yeah, the one
I
Forest
just wanna
Road.
make sure it was the right one, okay. Text amendment, we continued, farm brewery, we took care of. So you wanna make a motion?
I'd make the motion to approve the meeting minutes from November 7th, 2019.
Second.
I know, that's tough. I put Alex got you.
that was a
Alex-
tie,
Alex beat
though.
you just by a hair.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
So.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Ooh, jeez. No, I got it right. All right. Okay, so we have a continued public hearing application 2019-7 for the increased lot coverage. And we are the applicant on that. So I think we hemmed and hawed about a number of things, but the last I recall, which were in the minutes, I mean, one of the things was increase the 15, but for everybody below an acre, but not to exceed 4,000 square feet.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that was one, something I mean, that was just a recommendation that I recall.
That was
So,
the one discussion.
yeah, so, we didn't close the public hearing.
Right.
Right. So, you wanna, is there anything you wanna add? Cause I know that's what you're here for?
Not at the moment.
Okay, all right, all right.
So for discussion,
Oh, one thing, I just wanna ask Carrie a point. What was the exact legal notice? Is it exactly what's in here? Cause the only thing is, if we look to, I was thinking about this, after we left the last meeting, or sometime after that, that if we decide to make some wholesale universal change, I don't know if we would have to go back out and publish it, because now we're talking R80 as well. You know, I mean, we
No,
had
this-
conversations around
Yeah, so
R80.
R80 we didn't talk about, but I know R40 we didn't say if it was conformative or not. So if
Right,
we're
just
just only
wanna
looking
make
at
sure.
R40, I believe we're good.
Okay,
But
Right.
R80, yeah, that's gonna.
right. So
Right, the legal notice in the original application was for a change for R40 to increase the coverage from 10 to 15%.
Okay, all right, gotcha, because I don't want to go too far.
For
I mean-
non-conforming or just at R40?
R40.
Yeah, so it gave us a little flexibility, all right.
so we're tied in, we can't do a percentage of that. It's either 10 or 15.
Oh, no, so, okay, so, when we have when there's something that's published, we can make changes to it. If I'm just gonna throw, if we went to 100%, or maybe even 50, 60, 70, or 80%, maybe that'd be pushing it, but a couple percentage here and there, and I don't know if we actually have a percentage in the,
What do you mean by 100%?
I'm just saying, it says 10 or 15% here.
Is it
And
10
the
to
legal,
15?
no, what I'm saying is that when there's a public hearing, we can't take this and make it this.
Oh, I
We
see.
can take this and maybe,
Right.
you know, we can
Yeah.
maneuver.
Between 10 to
Yeah, we can
15.
tweak
Right,
it
I
a
would
little
say-
bit.
right.
But what I'm saying is, I was just making, if
Oh, I
it was,
see.
You
if
can't
we
make it a whole nother
if we put out
percentage.
that it was 10 or 15%, and now we wanna make it 100, I think that
Oh, I
might be a
see.
little too
Yeah, no,
beyond the scope of the
what I was
original.
questioning is, if we said 10, moving it from 10 to 15%, are we? can
That's
we-
what was advertised.
Right. So if it's 10-15, 15, we can put anything in between.
Yes,
So as long as we stay within the parameters of 10 to 15.
right.
I mean, we could.
And we can only focus on the R40.
Correct.
But I mean, if we went to 16 or 17, not that I would say we are, but I mean, that's still, I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, there's a little flexibility there, so.
So, yeah, I don't know if you need any more information. This was originally received in June, and there's been numerous public hearings, on the matter, so.
I mean, the tier approach doesn't work. I mean, we thought we had I just don't think that's, and.
Yeah, it
and
could
then-
create
and
more
then
room
Lynn was
for
talking about,
debating.
it just makes it a accounting,
Well, right,
a
Yeah.
little bit difficult.
enforcement is
Yeah, yeah.
challenging.
So.
I like the going from 10 to 15, but not to exceed.
So you'd use,
4,000.
you'd use that chart as a reference to make sure
Well, what
any
if-
of the lower tiers will exceed the
Or what if you
4,000.
even just have, if you only wanna stick with conforming lots? So,
You mean non-conform?
sorry, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, non-conforming, not to exceed 4,000 square feet.
Well, then that brings back to Ron's issue of being fair to everyone.
Well, you are.
Also, in adding on to that, if we bump up the 40,000 square foot lot, the conforming lot.
We're
up
not.
to- wait a minute.
Okay, I got you,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah, not that we're not.
Yeah, no, I got you.
You know, we're discussing it.
Yeah.
If we bump it up to, we bump it 12%, let's say, bring us more in, uniformity with the, towns around us. Cause
So-
most of the towns are 15%.
Right,
And we're 10%.
yes.
And, you
Right.
know, we're
Well-
moving up the non-conforming, so let's
Right.
move up the conforming
I feel like
lots
that's a
also,
different
just to make us,
discussion.
you know, in, matching some of the other towns, like Guilford and East Haven or whatever.
I mean, the thing is that if we wanna match other towns, then I would say go with the 15, just across the board, because that's what they have. So they don't say only for lots that are non-conforming or not to exceed X amount. Because the other thing is that with the 15%, even if you look at a lot that's 40,000 square feet, that would be 6,000 square feet of coverage.
Right.
Which is, it's still, no matter what, it's still 15% of the lot, so.
So the only thing that,
So
and we talked
you'd,
about,
you'd exceed the 4,000 is what I'm saying, so,
yeah.
but that's what would be allowed, that would be 15% of your lot.
And the only thing, like, we talked, last meeting on this was bringing up the R80, is we might see, this might be a start of maybe another text amendment that we might have for the R80 in the future.
Possibly, but I mean, I think the goal with R80 it's a different feel, those are larger lots. But that's not to say that there are non-conforming lots in R80. If you look up in like the Birdland area of Norford, that's all R80, and there's a whole neighborhood there of Birdland that is non-conforming. Those are they're around 40,000 square foot lots.
But there are 80?
But they're zoned R80. I mean, maybe that happened after that subdivision was created, but we just don't see the request for variances up there because they have,
If there's not a request, then you might not see it then,
right,
yeah.
right. And, I mean, like, going back to that original chart, even the chart that Lynn had put together, well, those are all R40, but.
Oh, I got it right here. This one.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know that there's any,
But those were all setback variances. And those.
these were, but I'm just looking to see if there were any R80.
No.
One, but that was a setback, you're right,
Right.
yeah.
So anything, all the conforming lots, they weren't increasing coverage, they were just setbacks.
No, there was a chart that Lynn gave last week.
The other
last
chart,
meeting.
the other chart though, that had all the, coverage changes were less than an acre, right? I don't remember seeing one. Yeah,
You're right.
Yeah, they're all less than an acre. I just wanna go back to where it originally came from. So it was everything less than an acre, the non-conforming lots. That's what brought this issue up here. So, and I understand that other towns do other things, but our 40 has not really been challenged, and there's like some setbacks on our 80, but it seems to work for us. So, I mean, I'm not saying, it's an older regulation, I'm not sure when it was put in place, but it seems to work. So,
I agree. I feel like that's a different
I just don't know about
discussion.
changing something that works. I mean, if there was a whole host of folks coming in R40, I think we should take a look at that, but this came back just from the non-conforming.
I agree,
And
stick
I'm
with
not,
the data.
I'm just not sure
It
what
goes
to do it
back into the
overall.
argument, do you do 15% for all, as long as it doesn't exceed the 40,000,
Right.
conforming lots, they're already at it.
Mhm.
And it's not affecting anybody in R40, cause cause if you're over an acre, you can go up to 4,400, if you're over an acre?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
So-
right, you
so-
could go over 4,000.
Right, so, and if you're non-conforming, you can go up to 4,000, and then if you're above it, you can go, 4,400?
The only thing is that, so, say you went ahead with that. If you said, if you're non-conforming, you could, were you saying it would be 15% or 4,000, whichever,
Well,
No, not to exceed.
oh, not to exceed?
Yeah, yeah,
So not to exceed 4,000.
Right.
So, say you have 0.8 of an acre.
right,
That would be 10% right now is 3,500.
right,
So by going
to 15.
by going to
Oh.
15, you would be at 5,000
Right, right,
to
right,
Yeah,
50.
you don't wanna do that.
I agree, not to exceed
The
4,000.
the 4,000 would be like 11.5%.
Right, yep. But it's given the opportunity the goal is so they can expand,
But to keep it fair.
there's some relief so they can expand.
I think
Currently-
changing the percentage to the conforming lots, just because,
Non-conforming, you mean?
no.
Oh.
If we were to say, okay, sweeping changes to non-conforming and conforming, I think it's biting off more than we meant to chew, because I think it's a different mindset and discussion and perspective taking to start saying, okay, now with our conforming, we can go bigger. I just think it's that's a whole different discussion, fleshing that out with, because now you're changing the character of how the town looks by being able to build bigger houses. I think that's a whole different discussion that.
But remember, there's still,
Yeah,
there's the 30% that would cap, I mean, it would be 15% for building, but you couldn't, I don't know that it would change the character that much.
Yeah.
Because you have the 30%, which would be
the maximum, right?
the
Carrie,
maximum,
what's,
which is pavement and storage but.
The new development that's on 17, I think at the end of Old Post, those large houses there.
Sean's?
Yeah.
Where the red barn was?
Yeah.
Those don't even hit the max for R40, I believe, or no?
No, so those are, right, 10%, but I don't think they are at.
Yeah, they're still underneath, and those houses
Right.
are fairly large.
Right, so
Yeah.
they still allow for someone to be able to put a shed or
Outdoor garage.
add a deck. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of them are built with them anyway, but they're not at the 10%, right?
Yeah.
What is the town's liability insofar as hypothetical case? I have a non-conforming, a quarter acre lot. And I don't have the graph in front of me, so I don't know. And if I add another bedroom or two, increasing the requirements on the septic system, the leaching fields will be too small for the lot, but we're saying you can add to the size of the house, bedrooms.
I don't, I
if that's
think-
okay to increase the house, but the septic system can't handle it now,
I don't think you get a permit.
Yeah, you wouldn't get it.
Right,
I
I
don't
think,
think you
and
can
that's, I
permit.
mean, that's unique, you could claim that the soils are bad, so that's the town's fault because the soil, I mean, that's, I think it's a far-fetched lawsuit.
I'm just,
And if you're gonna add some square footage.
And this isn't,
Yeah.
sorry, this
Okay.
isn't saying to people, you have to expand, this is just providing
Right.
people with an opportunity for those people that don't have a garage or a deck or, and would like one, or a shed, or,
we're not limiting it to garage, we're saying.
no, it's just a structure.
Right, so you can add bedrooms.
True,
They would have to go to East Shore.
right.
If you have septic, I mean, if you have sewer, that's a different story, but if you have septic,
Did
that
we
has to,
run-
that has to
we
go
run-
to East Shore for approval.
Didn't the town run into problems with some developments that were in swamp?
Yeah, so that was, I don't think it was the town issue, the town responded to it. That was, White Hollow.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think there was a town, liability on that.
Well, and the town responded by putting in sewers.
Yeah, I think the town was to help them, but I don't think the town had, I mean, not saying the town said, hey, we're not gonna do that, but I don't think there was any town, I mean, I don't wanna say, I don't know that. They just did it 'cause it was, like, so swampy, there was flooding, and so they expanded the sewer up that way for the reasons behind it, and if there was town liability, I don't recall. And just to go back, keep the conversation going a little bit, 15% covers almost all the items that Lynn provided. I think there's just two, there was one at 20 and two, one at 16 and one at 17. Let me just count them up, 1, 6, 10. There was 10, and 3 of them were more than 15%. 16, 17, and 20. All the rest of them average around 12 or 13.
Mhm.
So going back to, the 40,000, the non-conforming lots, 15% not to exceed 4,000.
Mhm.
I think that wording would have to be changed because, for example, if you have a quarter acre lot, 15% would be 1,500 square feet.
Right.
So I think it would have to be 15% or 4,000, whichever is less.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
Yeah.
I
Just
mean,
because
Yeah,
you can't
yeah.
have, that would be almost half of the lot would be able to
Right,
be covered.
yes, the way we said it, and that's just rephrased in a different way, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just to
yeah.
clarify.
Yeah, that works. If
but
that's
then
the
you can't
direction.
cover half the lot because there's this other 30% rule.
Correct.
Right, but we just wouldn't want it to conflict
Correct.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, whichever is
less.
less,
Yeah,
the
that makes sense.
15 or the 30.
Right. Because if you did 15% across the board, you know, again, if you had a quarter of an acre for property, that's 10,000 square feet. 15% would give you 1,500 square feet. So that would be your limit. Cause if you went up to 4,000, you'd be covering almost half of your property with buildings.
So what do we want the wording to be?
I mean, somewhere in the, for, non-conforming lots, do we have to signify what that means? Less than 40,000 square feet, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be 15% or 4,000 square feet, whatever is less.
I feel like that's confusing.
Kira will write
Okay.
it so it's not confusing.
Yeah.
I pretty much just wrote it the same way that you said it, but,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, yeah, 'cause I mean, if we're in, I mean, if we're in some kind of consensus with this, we could close the public hearing.
Oh, yeah, we.
Carrie could rewrite it, and then we can vote on the next meeting.
mhm.
So,
Yeah.
if that's, if so.
So just to talk through this real quick,
Yeah.
so if you go with this wording
Mhm.
of having the cap at 4,000 square feet or 15%, whichever is less, just to give you a perspective, that really, it negatively, I wanna say, negatively impacts those people who have parcels of land that are 0.7, so 30,500 square feet or larger. So it's those three kind of cohorts, like 30,500, 35,000, and 40,000.
Right.
Because each of those groups could get more than the 4,000.
Well,
So
if you went 15% across the board.
if you went 15%
Right, right.
across the board.
Yeah,
Right.
but that's why we're saying or 4,000, whichever's smaller.
But
or
that's
not
what,
to
that's what we
exceed
tried to do on the
4,000.
tier thing,
Right.
to make it.
Right.
But so, and we realized that doing a tier thing,
Mhm, mhm.
one, you had to really super, skew it, and two is from the, from the account, from the, I don't know, the administrative side, we're talking, a lot of, math and just making sure how accurate it can be.
Mhm, mhm.
That might be the best route to go.
And then, I mean, there's.
Yeah, I agree, you just can't exceed the 4,000.
And-
It makes it fair.
No, so, and again, so, I mean, so we did see these go to, ZBA. So if we're able to, so let's say there was 10 of them. And 70% of them fit within, if we adopted this reg, that means 3 out of the 10 over the course of time would have to still go to ZBA. So if there's, like in Carrie's point, if somebody who has 0.7 or 0.8 and wants to go a little bit more than 4,000, then they could, take that to ZBA. I don't think we're gonna be able to fix everyone, but
Yeah,
I
but
think we
that's
just,
what
if we
drove
can
it.
eliminate, I mean, it's only a sampling of 10,
Mhm.
and using the 70, but if we can eliminate the extra effort, cost, of a resident and also from the staff,
Mhm.
I think that
Helps
kinda
yourself.
sort of accomplishes what we were trying to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'd like the town attorney just read
Yeah.
this and help me
Yeah.
phrase it differently.
So, I'm just gonna, would you, we're gonna close the public hearing if you have anything, if you wanna add?
Yeah, I'm good.
Are we in agreement, or so if somebody wants to make a motion to close the public hearing, or is there anything else we need to discuss?
Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah,
We're just closing the public hearing tonight, there could be more discussion.
Right,
next
among
time.
you
Yes.
all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I make a motion to close the public hearing for application 2019-7.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor of closing the hearing?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Seeing none? Okay. So the next item on the agenda is action on this, so we will continue, so we wanna make a motion to, continue, well, do we need do we need to do a motion to continue that next meeting?
Yeah, just state the
Okay, could someone make a
meeting
motion on
date.
that?
I'll make a motion to continue application 2019-7, to the next meeting of
December 12th.
December 12th.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none? All right, now we're getting into some old business. Application 2019-16, zone change, 486, 502, 518, and 524. That's the one, Alex, you
Yes, the
probably gonna
Forest
sit
Road
out
one.
on that?
Yeah, I have to recuse myself,
Yep,
because I'm
alright,
a
good.
voter on that one.
Okay. That was a public hearing though, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So that public hearing was closed, and this is, again, I'll pass this down. Proposal to change the zoning of 4 parcels that you had listed off. 486, 502, 518, 524 Forest Road. That's where it's currently occupied by New England Asphalt,
Mhm.
Nature Works, and SPI, those businesses. So it's zoned residential. The suggestion is to rezone that to industrial, specifically I-2, which would enable each of those businesses to still
Mhm.
operate as they do today, but also provide an opportunity for them to add on to their buildings. But they would have to comply, obviously, with the I-2 setbacks and
Mhm.
coverage and requirements. We had heard from some residents on Farm River Drive who had some concerns about noise
Mhm.
coming from some of the businesses. We'd heard from the businesses that it had been zoned industrial going back to 70s or 80s and then changed
Do we
to
have any data
residential.
on that, or no?
No.
Okay.
I don't. But the owner of Nature Works, Nancy DeBrule, also had said that she had to apply for a variance to actually operate her business because it was zoned residential.
Mhm.
So, let me just, for this one, we have to all be in agreement one way or the other.
Mhm.
If whatever vote we do, if.
Yeah, it fails.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it fails. So the first thing we need to do, because this was a public hearing, is I think, do you have a motion?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so what we should do is somebody would need to read the motion in and second it in, so then we can start a discussion.
Mhm.
So I just wanna make sure if we can do that.
It's a small.
This is, which one is
You
this?
don't
Is
have
this
to
the
think.
second one?
No, it's a copy of the
Oh, okay,
motion,
gotcha.
just so I can write the motion.
I move to approve Planning and Zoning Application 2019-16, petition of the Planning and Zoning Commission to amend the North Branford zoning map, changing the zoning of parcels located at 486, 502, 518, and 524 Forest Road from residential R40 zone to industrial I2 zone. Description of the meets and bounds of the extent of the parcel to become I2 zone is attached. Map change effective December 6, 2019.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, now we can, you can keep that for now. So now we can kind of really discuss this.
So one of the things, just as you're having your discussion,
Oh, we gotta,
Oh.
seated for this discussion as members,
Mace.
Mace, Sienna, and Dulac.
in
Okay.
front of you is the updated plan of conservation and development. And there is the future land use map, which is on page. Sorry, it's towards the back. This way a little bit.
Is that?
That's open space. Yeah, 66. And the area where these businesses are located was identified as kind of a rural business zone. Just looking at current land use and maybe the direction that the town would like to see the businesses progress as time goes on.
Mhm.
And there's a further description, I think, on page 68 or 69 of the, nope, 72 of the rural business area.
So there was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, around 5 members of the public that spoke, 6. Now, the only, and I don't wanna say it was an objection.
Correct, a complaint.
Yeah, so I mean, so this regulation wouldn't necessarily have an impact on that.
Correct.
So, because they were talking about a truck starting up, I mean, that's something, maybe a good neighbor, or have some conversation
Mhm.
with the business, or whatever it might be. But from everything else, I mean, the one person, and I don't recall if it was, Mr. Tucker or Mr. Gannon, and maybe somebody will remember, but they said they had a business there at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Then they moved their business out to,
Mhm.
I think,
North
North Haven,
Haven,
Hamden.
the asphalt
Right,
people,
and then
yeah.
they came back, so. And I think that's, we do have businesses in town, we should at least, at least take a look to see how we can help them.
Mhm.
And I also think that our, Roger from the,
Economic development.
they had some conversations with him?
Yes, he
Yeah.
and I both met
Okay.
with them, yes.
All right. So, it seems like there was no much objection, there wasn't any objection
Yeah,
to the actual change
zone
to
change.
the actual zone change, so.
And I forget, if they make changes, it does come back before us, if they wanna make changes to their buildings. Or
Depends on
it's-
what the changes are.
Okay, some are as
If it
of-
would require additional parking spaces, then it may require a site plan.
Okay.
So
So
if
just
it's
depends.
substantial.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one thing that would be, I think one of them said is that they're, if, when they do make some changes, looking to update some of the facade, I can't remember which one it
Right,
was.
SPI.
Mhm.
And so that would be, a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, let's see what her name was.
Nancy?
Nancy, who has I can't remember the name.
Nature Works?
Nature Works, right. She said that would never, unless we completely tore it down,
Yeah, nobody-
if they decided to leave, wouldn't be beneficial to
Mhm.
going back to a residence, so. Any other thoughts?
No, this seems like those, clearly, New England Asphalt's been there for quite a while, since the 70s.
The Bondo factory's been there for even longer than that.
That's the SPI?
I don't know what it's called now, but
Okay.
when the earth was new, it was the Bondo factory. Was it? Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were chiseling, stone wheels. Ron's first job.
Someday you're gonna look in the mirror and see.
Oh, you already do, Ron, I already do. Ron.
You know, I've been, to get back on this,
Yeah.
it sounds like we're all in I'm hearing there's nothing against it. I mean, it's light industry that's been there for, since zoning started.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Personally, I think we should approve it.
Well, if there's no further discussion, Trish, since you
I made the motion, I
made
go
a motion,
first.
it's a roll, so you have to state a reason.
Yep.
And,
I support it because it provides an opportunity for the businesses to stay in town and support them in what they wanna do to be able to stay here.
Ron?
I also vote yes on this. It's part of our the town economic development, and this section of Forest Road has been the business area, light industry for quite a while.
I also vote yes. It fits in with our plan of conservation. It enables those in that area to, whether it's some small expansion or some updating,
Mhm.
which it would be, it's needed in there. And I think it would be beneficial for businesses like that, so they can stay in town. So, that passes 3-0. All right. Alex, you back? Oh, damn. Oh, so, just wanna, how's Tom doing?
Oh, I will give you an update.
Okay.
Good news, yeah.
Good. All right. So the next one is application 2019-17.
So this is also a proposed zone change. Just pass this one down for you. This is proposed zone change at the intersection of Route 80 and 139, going from a business B3 zone to a B2 zone. And the purpose was, in a B3 zone, you're not allowed to have restaurant with outdoor seating. It has to be an indoor restaurant,
Mhm.
Which would also prevent a drive-through. So there had been some interest expressed in having that potentially be location for drive-through or a restaurant with outdoor seating.
Mhm.
Nothing's come of it since then, but still it'd be good to,
Mhm.
I think, rezone it. This is the only, no, there's one other area of town that is zoned, B3, but it fits with the surrounding zoning,
Yeah, to
which
change
is
it to B2.
also, B2.
So on the map, just so I get it, just make sure I fully understand. So when you're on Branford Road,
Mhm.
Yeah,
there's a stoplight when you come to the top,
right here,
Yeah.
over here.
No,
What's, so what am I?
this is where the road used to go. So this is just the edge of the parking lot at Dairy Queen,
Right.
and this is woods
Oh, okay.
right now. All in here, there's a former doctor's
Yeah.
office there. Here's the entrance to Central
Mhm.
Plaza.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it would be the area to the left of you when you're coming up
Yeah, where all the trees
139
are.
and if you take a left on Route 80.
Okay. Alright. Yep.
I think this one's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think,
Well, since we're this one, that potential, whatever might happen there, there's a lot of state, property there, if I remember correctly from the last hearing.
Yes.
Well, and if you do put in a curb cut into Route 80, they would have to go to the Department of Transportation.
If they made a new curb cut, if they used the existing one
I
from
don't
the
think,
parcel
is
there.
there any there?
There is
Where
at
the-
Central Plaza.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about, no, so I'm saying there's no.
Oh, in the doctor's office.
Is there onto,
139, yes.
okay.
So
Mhm.
here's just a.
Yeah, it's a couple,
probably better.
a little ways
Yeah.
down from
So
the
you can see
one to Central
there.
Plaza.
Because this was the entrance to the doctor's office.
Right.
But one of the concepts, and again, nothing's happened with it that I had seen, very preliminarily, is coming in at Central Plaza, having some kind of coordination. And I don't even know who owns that.
Right.
I think it is Central Plaza, but maybe not. Actually, this is State Road, because this used to be 139.
Right.
So, potentially, again, there's a lot of steps that would have to happen. Someone would have to acquire the state's properties and then get access, but possibly have a queue going this way, and then maybe right turn only going out, or connect in with Central Plaza.
Mhm.
Needs
But that's-
site work, needs
Yeah.
improvement.
Yeah, experts
Yeah,
will be
then,
helping
yeah.
out with
And that would come
but-
back before you for a
Yeah.
special use permit, because it would be a change of use to a restaurant use.
So you can so you can come in off of Route 80 or go out, these are, right now you can't, this is closed off.
That's closed off.
Right.
I think that they would be hesitant to allow another curb cut here, one, because there's already one by McDonald's.
Oh,
And
okay.
another reason, you're getting kind of close to the intersection here.
Yeah,
Too
yeah.
dangerous.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just wondering if, yeah.
But those were all things that we had looked at,
Right.
and that's why they were exploring maybe coming in here. And then again, with a drive-through, you have to take queuing into account.
Mhm.
Yeah,
again, we try and vet a lot of this before it comes to you,
Yeah, yeah.
so we're not saying,
Yeah.
why didn't you think about this, but, and then aesthetically, that's the other thing that I mentioned to them, is you don't want, ideally, I'd rather have the drive-through on the other side, on the back side of the building, so that you don't see a line of cars when you're on Route
Yeah.
80 heading west.
That's a
But
good point.
you can't do that because you need the driver's side,
Yeah,
you
to
know?
be able to
Yeah.
use the drive-through.
Yes. So, but that's down the road.
Yeah, and that's a lot of input from a lot of people with the expertise in those areas.
Do you have a motion?
Yes, I think that's it right there.
No, it's the old one.
Nope, that's the new one. Isn't it?
Oh, wait, 17?
It looks exactly the same.
Yeah, so we like to do the same thing, so we can have further discussion. If you, could somebody read a motion to,
I'll read them, so they're short.
So this is the old one?
yeah, that was the first.
Forest, yep, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. I make a motion to approve planning and zoning application 2019-17, petition of the Planning and Zoning Commission to amend the North Branford zoning map, changing the zoning of the parcels located at 1535 Foxen Road and 286, 292, 296, 300 Branford Road, and map 12, lot 71 parcel on Branford Road, from business B3 zone to business B2 zone. Oh, there's a couple of, there's like a redundancy here.
What's that?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
So yeah, all those parcels are all just being changed from B3 to B2, cause then there's another from B3 to B2.
Sorry.
And then description of the meets and bounds of the extent of the parcels to become B2 zone is attached. Map change effective December 6, 2019.
Second.
So for this discussions, our members, DeFrancisco, May, Sienna, and Dulac.
I think it's rather straightforward.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Carrie, just, those properties could be served by sewer, correct?
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Okay.
because Central Plaza has sewer. I believe. They do.
Because it says here, I'm reading the, plan of conservation, Routes 80 Center. It says it has sewer, but I just wanted to confirm that.
I know,
Sewer, water.
1599 has sewer.
Okay.
I believe they could
Yeah, that's
tie
where
into
it
that.
stops.
There's a, you know, what, here, look, there's a sewer map in here. Yeah, next page. What's the maps? Utilities map, 46, or sewer plan?
Where's that? 76.
Existing service areas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Look at this, we've already used this, 3 things.
You're gonna carry it with you everywhere, I know.
No, actually, I'm gonna leave it here.
Okay.
So,
That's
yes,
fair.
so, yes,
Okay.
if somebody else needs a
I'll
copy.
put your, name on it though.
Well, doesn't matter. But if somebody else needs a copy, but plus I don't want, yeah.
You can reference it
So then when I
here.
need
That's
it, I
fine.
can just walk in and grab it. I'm gonna start shopping at Best, I never use over. I have a nameplate, I'll just bring it in.
You have one right in front of you.
Yeah, they're
So,
perfect.
where are we with this?
Just roll call vote?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Alright.
Is this a roll call or?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be the same, yeah, the same
Last
thing,
one.
Rob. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, so, is there any other discussion on
Mhm.
that?
Okay.
If we're good, then,
You want me to start off, or is it?
Oh, I get
Oh,
to
you
start
gotta
off,
start.
because I
Yeah,
made,
yeah.
you know, that's actually a smart move. I'm gonna start doing more motions to
Yeah.
go first, so I can get my reasons in first. Like, strategic move.
That would definitely sway us.
So the next time
Um,
there's 300 people in the audience and it's a, you know.
Something
huge-
contentious.
Yes, well, we'll make sure we hand it right to you.
I love the touche. I support it because it helps just bring that area of land into alignment with the existing use of the area, which is B3, and hopefully, is the potential to bring another business to town in an appropriate setting.
And
And I don't.
yay or nay?
Oh, I said I support it.
Oh,
Yes.
no, yeah, I need a yay or nay.
Oh, yes, I support it.
Yes, I approve this. For same reasons Trish mentioned, it goes hand in hand with our plants conservation, updating the area, encouraging business to come to town and promote, that area rather than just being vacant. And looking at potential uses that could be for it, it does go well with the surrounding area, and as we just used the current plants conservation book, it is on sewer, so it allows a lot more potential, businesses and opportunities for this town.
Brian?
Yes, I also vote to approve this for all the reasons that were just stated before. I mean, I'm trying to think of an additional one. You guys covered them all.
I vote yes, for some, the same reasons, also, you know, working with the economic development, with Roger from economic development, and looking for opportunities where we can create, if somebody would like to amass the specific area, and work, you know, work with the state to amass it and bring in a business. We expect going to B3, it expands those opportunities, so it passes 4-0.
Who seconded that?
I did. No, did I? Or you?
No, Alex,
You did that one.
Sienna, I have
We didn't
Sienna.
compete on
Yeah.
that one.
Beat him on that
Perfect.
one.
there you go. All right, so we're moving right along, so we are,
Before we talk about 7A.
yep,
Could someone make a motion to amend the agenda to add a 7B? I should have said this at the beginning. I have something from Tilcon regarding a proposal that they'd like to do.
discussion on a proposal for Tilcon.
I make a motion to amend the agenda to add under other business, section B, to discuss a proposal from Tilcon.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that passes 4-0. Okay, so we'll.
So the discussion regarding accessory structures such as sheds should be counted towards the building coverage.
Yep.
So if I could kind of talk about my general thoughts on this. So
Sure.
I have some concerns with doing something like this for a variety of reasons. So right now, we require zoning permits for setback and coverage for sheds.
Right.
Regardless of size.
Yep.
There is no building permit required for sheds that are under 200 square feet. Because East Shore Health also doesn't require
Okay.
review. Which is manageable.
Right.
Like, that's a reasonable cutoff. If there's no coverage counted for sheds under a certain size, I just don't know what would stop someone from putting up multiple sheds or even like storage containers, if you think of like those Rubbermaid chests outdoors, outside, especially
agree.
if there's some like hoarding issue. And how do we limit that?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
That's just what I.
So, good question, and I did think a little bit about that. So, one, it would be only one. So, it would be one. It wouldn't, let's say, so it would have to, it would count on the rolls. So I think a shed of 200 square feet, if somebody puts it on there, it counts as a structure and it counts into the tax roll, correct? Okay.
I don't
we'd
know
have
about the
to do that.
tax side, I don't know,
think-
what the- I just,
yeah, I
it
think
counts
does.
towards
Yes, it does.
coverage
Right,
and,
okay,
right.
you know,
So-
setbacks, like we track
Yeah.
everything
Right.
regardless of size.
I'm not saying that we
zoning.
shouldn't, nothing should, in my vision, and just what I was thinking, is it should not affect anything. The only thing is if somebody comes in and wants to make wants to expand their property, the only thing I'm thinking was that, especially in some cases, like we talked with the non-conforming, we could say, if there's a shed that's counting against your square footage,
Mhm.
if it's 200 square feet or less, then we're gonna allow you to go as big as if your shed's 200 square feet, we're gonna allow you to go to, add an extra 200, up to 200 square feet. So,
Like you
so
get
see
like
what
a
I'm saying?
The
bonus.
shed counts towards, alright, the shed counts towards the lot coverage?
Yes.
Like that whole 10 to 15%
Yep.
thing?
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and it also counts towards that 30% coverage?
Mhm.
Okay,
So I'm not saying,
So it's
I'm
that
not saying
whole-
change anything.
yeah.
I'm just saying that
You
when
get like a free one, you get like.
Yeah, if you have one shed on and it's not a permanent structure, and, it's one of those that you set down, and whatever kind it is that's been approved to build, or whatever, it's on I'm just thinking that maybe we should consider that. I think I would like to make sure, if we're thinking about going down this road, before we even do that, I like, first, zoning enforcement take a look at it, the folks that do our taxes, and Lynn, because that would be something that would Lynn have to put in there as well. So I think there would be, I think it was Lynn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. There would be, before we even went down that road, just to get some people to weigh in to see if it's even viable, even if that's something you would consider.
I feel like
So.
if we I have two thoughts for now. I feel like if we just change lot coverage, why do we even need to touch this? That's my first thought.
Yep.
Second thought is, what is also counted as an accessory structure? Or are we only saying sheds?
The one reason on this, cause the sheds are, I think it was on formulites or ones that were in that top bracket had issues with having sheds. Cause if the shed put them over, I think that's what we've seen in previous aspects, people wanna add on, and that shed, that could be one of the ones that you just place down with a forklift.
Right.
Technically counts for it, but like, as mentioned, the freebie.
Right.
If you can remove it, if you can pick it up, and it's only that one, it helps prevent, like, if you have like a hoarder or something that just is stockpiling sheds.
Right. Well, you couldn't really stockpile, there's only, cause you can only go so much coverage.
Yeah.
You could do multiple ones, you are correct, you can just put multiple ones down. But we did change the regulation for non-conforming lots. So, I don't think, I don't even wanna get who has a shot in non-conforming, but this will have, if there's somebody on a conforming lot, and they're starting to approach that 10% coverage,
Yeah.
and they have a shed, well, there's another 200 square feet, up to 200 square feet, or up to the size of their shed, that they can go beyond. So.
I guess my question is, just to piggyback on your idea, is that, because I bought one of these, not in Nordford,
Rubbermaid.
Rubbermaid makes plastic sheds.
Everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's a non-permanent structure, because, two people can pick it up and move it to another spot on the property, as opposed to a guy who puts 4 poles in the ground and a roof to keep his firewood dry. Now, that's a permanent structure as opposed to a temporary structure.
The one thing that we always say in the building department though is that nothing's temporary, like, everything's almost permanent, because someone will say that it's temporary, but it's there for 25 years,
Mm.
which is not permanent, but
Right.
still, it's there for a long time.
So in the case,
So-
oh, go ahead. So in the case where you're saying whether it's so if somebody wanted to, say, expand, their property, and they're bumping up against the max, but they had that, portable shed. Well, one, when the assessor goes out there and sees it, it's going, whether it's movable or not, it's most likely going on the tax roll. I would have to think, I'm making an assumption, I don't know that for a fact, but I would have to assume that if somebody sees a shed out there, whether it's plastic, metal, or wood, it's going on, it's gonna be assessed.
So you could have more than one shed, as long as you're not approaching
Yeah.
the percentage of.
I'm gonna say yes, cause I have two on mine. But that's the way it came, when I bought the house.
I played the fifth!
What's your address again?
I see a lead coming.
Yeah, no, there's,
Yeah.
so there's a shed, there's an older shed
let's hear
that's
this.
kind of on its way out, and that's the way when we bought the house, it was there, so hopefully it's either, if it's not, if it's on the regulations, hopefully it was non-conforming.
I will say this, so there is in our, whatever, table, Schedule B, our standards table, there is so just like the 10% coverage is maximum for coverage, there's a maximum coverage for accessory buildings specifically, which is 2% of the lot area. So that would limit someone having 50 sheds on their property. Because only 2% of your lot can be occupied by accessory structures.
So is accessory,
Accessory building.
is accessory building, would that be included as a garage that is not attached?
Yes.
Okay.
So accessory building structure or use, a detached building, structure, or use on the same lot with and of a nature customarily incidental and subordinate to the principal building structure or use.
That's a mouthful.
Okay.
I feel, I don't know.
No,
Have
we don't, we don't have to do anything with it. if
I
someone
think
else
it's a
make it.
nice gesture, but if nobody's coming in for variances for it, or
And that was what I was gonna say. It's-
like leave it, I feel like I feel like we're gonna do something in terms of having a nice gesture, and then it just opens up something, and then it has like some negative effect, and we just go, oh, why'd we even touch it? So kinda like
Yeah.
the other one, like if there's a need, fine, if not.
I mean, if somebody needs
It's
an
not
extra,
broke, don't
if somebody
fix it.
needs an extra 200 square feet, I mean, they can go to ZBA for that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
I feel
Yeah.
like
I mean,
nothing's
I just
broke,
threw
so
it out
don't
there. I was
fix
just
it.
thinking about
Right.
that.
No, I think it's great
Yeah.
to have thorough discussions in order to support our residents, but if nothing's broke right now, I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, and I got stopped at, 4 poles and a cover for your firewood is a structure.
Mm.
I mean, that, you get taxed for that?
Yeah, yeah.
The cover for your firewood gets taxed. You're gonna see a lot more blue tarps.
So, alright, so we'll put that one away
Yeah.
Yep.
for
But now
future.
that you put it out in the universe, it might not be away for long.
No, we'll see. I mean, it's, we don't have to act on it. I mean, again, it's 200 square feet
I
and,
think it's nice,
yeah.
a nice discussion.
Alright, and then Carrie, you want
Okay.
about Tilcon discussion?
Yes, so this, there you go. So I'm passing down the section of the zoning regulations that focuses on the industrial quarry district, which is where Tilcon is.
Yep.
So I just wanted to go through this to make sure that we're all on the same page. So I'll just kind of read through this. So this is obviously, again, where Tilcon is located. Reading, kind of skimming around. 35.2, the purpose of this is obviously to delineate the quarry district. Skipping down, the purposes of the industrial quarry district are as follows: to recognize the existence of the resource, permit stone quarry operations, including stone crushing, sorting, storage of materials, earth excavation, removal, and filling relating thereto. connection with the purpose of 32.2.2. So, the ancillary office, trucking, concrete mixing plants, and other uses. And then provided that such principal and ancillary uses as are conducted in a manner that conforms to the performance standards of section 51, protecting the public health, safety, general welfare, and property values in the town, etc. So, procedure, certain uses that are listed in Schedule A as permitted in the industrial site quarry, subject to administrative approval of a site development plan. Any person, firm, or corporation conducting stone quarry operations, shall, at intervals not exceeding the 5 years and beginning within the year 1978, present a site operations plan for administrative approval. So, you'll remember a few months ago, they filed that with us, which
Mhm.
focused on their quarrying operations and focused on the area literally that they are quarrying. This is a little different. So skipping down site operations plan, that again talks about their operations. So it does actually say in here, under that site operations plan, for the 5-year period, the location and extent of proposed stone quarry operations, including the area to be quarried, existing and proposed ground elevations, vehicular access and circulation, outside storage areas, and provision for drainage and lighting. So, what they are proposing to do is, if you look at this plan, this is an aerial view, and then I'll show you their actual plan as well. So the black dashed line is their existing rail line that exists today. What they'd like to do is extend that rail line further to the north. So it would actually be on an existing roadway. They do not have to cut any new trees. They didn't mention any lighting, but they may have to fill in some of the areas so that obviously the rail is level. So if you all, I only have one copy of this, but, so again, here's the existing rail switch. It ends right about, well, it ends right about here, and then they'd like to add this whole section. And there's currently a sand plant, which is kind of across from Mill Road, that general area. They're proposing to get rid of that. They would like to remove that and instead to have material stockpiled there, so then they can load the material onto the rail cars.
Mhm.
And there's a berm that exists. You can see on the aerial photograph, there's some pine trees kind of across from the track.
Mhm.
And the elevation is such that you can't see it from Forest Road because it slopes up and then goes back down. But they would build up a berm here. And again, there's no lighting proposed. So, based on looking at the regulations, they're not adding any new access locations. They're extending a line, but they're not coming in off of 80 anywhere new. It's all within their site. They're not changing their operations. My interpretation, but I wanted to get your take, is that it's really just kind of informational.
Mhm.
Well, let me ask you a question. So where that rail, where the proposed rail line is continuing, right now is a road. It's used by trucks to go down there and get it. So all basically it's doing is changing one method of transportation to another.
Right.
Is there any homes, there's no real home, I mean, no, on that side of the road, I know there's not.
Right.
Do
I
you-
did ask about noise,
Hours of
dust,
operations,
lighting.
yep.
I think it would be consistent with their normal operations. I don't believe they run the rail at night.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my only thing I would really like to know, because across the street, and I don't, you know, just a couple, just so we get a better idea, is how often would the train
Mm-hmm.
go back and forth, confirm the hours of operation.
Is it a train that
Now,
has to beep?
What's that?
Is it a train that has a horn or doesn't?
No, I think,
I don't think they do.
I mean, it could be a horn out, but I don't think they would need it, cause they're the only ones
It's a
using the
good
track.
question, I don't
Like, is all of a sudden there gonna be now horns?
know that I've ever heard the train
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
They would have to have a horn when they cross,
Right,
in Branford.
and even North Branford.
Yeah, I'm sure that, I mean, whatever safety,
I don't
I'm
know that
just
I've
saying, I
ever.
don't know
Sometimes
if they would
noise
need it
or-
down here,
Yeah,
because
that's
it
what I'm
doesn't look
wondering,
like there, you know,
noise or-
you couldn't have two trains passing, or there's no place to switch off. The other thing is, this area, what's this area currently being used for?
The sand plant?
Okay, so what they're saying is they wouldn't,
Stockpile
they
material?
wouldn't
sorry,
use,
sorry.
they wouldn't be using sand anymore, this would be storage area. So somehow the materials can get there and be stored, and then we would just like to know what's gonna be stored there,
Mhm.
and what type of environmental protections are gonna be set up, I'm
Mhm,
sure
yeah.
there is.
Heavy regulations.
Yeah, but we just like to get an idea.
Mhm.
So, I mean, right now it's a sand plant, so obviously they put stuff in there and they make it, and then they put a train. But now, are they gonna bring stuff down, drop it off to storage, and then when they need it, they'll have the train come
Go
back
get
and
it,
load
yeah.
it up and send it out? So if
Mhm.
they can just provide a little
Some more
more
details.
around it.
Does the aerial map show a little bit more to the north, because, I mean, that brings up a good point of, there's a road here now, so, I don't know how this railroad's going to be set up, but,
You mean this road that goes around here?
right, so actually, so the vehicles may be able to access it going down here, and
Okay.
I don't know if vehicles are going to be able to drive over the tracks.
Oh,
I
I
wouldn't
gotcha.
think that you'd
Yeah,
want.
you'd want
Right.
that.
Is this a road?
Yes.
So that could be the road where they're gonna so they're gonna bring the materials in by truck, maybe, and drop it off.
Come down here.
Drop it off, and then
Drop
the
it
train,
off,
would- yeah.
and
the
then the train would,
Yep.
it would be train only here,
Yeah, that's what I would think.
but
Well,
I.
looking at, going back a couple months when they proposed the new spot, the 5-year plan and everything, that road coming in from the northbound, it has to be, or I assume is connected going up there. So they're just putting that stone or whatever there, and then it's just easy access for the road. So as long as they had the environmental, protection and everything there, the only thing I see is, you said they had, parts that they have to fill in with like stone, just to make it suitable for
The rail
the
line
rail
to be
line and
level.
everything. Is that just where the existing road is, or do they have to, I'm assuming they have to extend out to bear all that weight on the rail cars?
I think it's, the engineer only mentioned on the existing road, he didn't mention expanding it, because I think the slope is pretty steep, you can see, you know, along either side of the roadway here. So this is sloping up, this is sloping down. So I believe that they're trying to stay within that existing roadway.
I'm sure.
Because they would probably have to do a lot of work, either cutting into the embankment, probably.
But, I mean, other than, so what
So-
your action, just what, is it just kinda like an informal discussion? It's
Well, I just wanted, the first
saying-
question is, do you see that they would need to do anything beyond informing you? Would you like to see a site plan application?
I don't think you really need
No,
to.
but I agree,
mean,
just
it's
like
not- I
hours
mean,
operation,
Yeah.
environmental impact.
I mean,
No,
it's,
just like-
So an explanation.
yeah, I mean,
Maybe
mean.
what I might have them do is,
Comment
maybe even
percentage.
just add this information to their 5-year plan, like
Yeah.
almost modify that, because that
Yeah.
focused so much on the excavation
Yep.
and not
That's a
the
good idea.
traffic circulation,
Yeah.
which I think we should be asking them maybe going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, it's internal to their property.
Right.
By looking at some of the roads for trucks and the rail cars, I mean, the safety, I mean, whether it's the rail cars, or, I mean, that kind of falls on them, I'm sure there's all types of regulations.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think I don't think we need to see a site plan, I
Okay.
think,
Is that-
but
is
I
that
agree with
state-
you with the modifying the 5-year plan.
Is that state or federal, control of a railroad?
I don't know.
I mean, it kind of,
I mean,
we're making assumptions that,
Yeah.
you know, but, you know, there, we would have to say they have to be in compliance with.
But we don't have to.
Right, yeah.
Well, if they're running a
It-
railroad,
It's on them to.
Yeah, so they're currently running the railroad now.
Right.
So whatever permits and processes they go through to run that, I mean, that's
Yeah, that's
squarely
what
on
I'm
them,
saying, is
yeah.
they have to comply with all government
Oh.
regulations, whether
Mhm.
it's state or federal
Yes.
or
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
planetary, who knows, but,
Soon.
yeah, it's gonna be, you know, all the OSHA mining.
Right.
Yeah.
Regulations.
Well, DEP
Yeah.
too, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we just want, I mean, like to see the amendment, you know, of the amended plan and again, the
Okay.
kind of, in the
So I'll just have
envir-
them submit that administratively to me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'd just like to see the environmental, you know, what's gonna be stored there and the environmental protections. I know you said they're gonna build a bigger berm and stuff, but just-
Okay.
otherwise, we trust you, Karen.
Yeah,
Thank
and the
you.
other question would be, is they gonna have a Santa,
I was just
train?
thinking that. That's so funny you said that.
Well,
I was like, are
actually-
they
I-
gonna do a Santa Express?
You know, it's funny, so one of
Polar
Roger's
Express.
pitches
Polar
is.
Which priority given to North
is to
Branford and
open
Northford
up
residents?
the rail line for a tourist attraction to go,
So
cause you could go
funny.
to the sound. Cause that's where
Yeah.
that ends up, take it all the way into Branford.
Polar Express, there
That's
it is.
I got it.
North
hysterical. I
Branford's
was
own.
just thinking that. Let me tell you, that would attract a lot, cause the one in
Yes,
Essex
Essex.
sells out in
How
a
about-
heartbeat.
Yes.
How about?
So we get
a-
first dibs.
We do a train, and what we do is we promote our wineries and breweries in our town on the train ride down
Yeah.
through Branford and back.
Serve the product.
Yeah,
There's a
on-
million things that could be done with that. That would be
I don't know
really
how that would
interesting.
fly in the regulation
I think this
world,
area probably looks more like the North Pole once it snows than some areas of Essex, right?
Mhm. That's so funny you said
Yeah,
that.
that's all- that's a
I
great
know.
idea.
Dining cars too, yeah, I
Yeah.
got it.
Not a bad
All right,
idea.
Okay.
Town planners report, yeah, so we got a couple meetings.
Yes, so just 2 meetings coming up, December 12th and January 2nd.
Anybody gonna be here, not be here on the 12th or the 2nd? Alex has his hand up.
I'll be here on the 12th, the 2nd,
Probably not.
probably not, cause I got a 5 o'clock, airplane, leaving next morning.
No
Where you going?
excuse.
Going to see the in-laws actually for Christmas.
You wanna run the brewery while you're gone?
Yeah, well, that's why I'm going late after the holidays.
I'll check on it those couple days.
Wait, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The annual dinner is the 9th.
Oh,
What annual dinner?
9th of December?
No,
Or January?
January.
That's in,
The Scrog
okay,
one.
okay.
Right.
where is that?
They haven't
Last year it was
decided.
at the club.
Because I went to the meeting.
Oh, well, okay, that's, here. And where's in, the one in New Haven?
They don't know where it's going to be yet. We just, at the meeting the other day, they were just, opened up a discussion about who would we like to have talk to us. So a couple of ideas were thrown around.
Me and Ron we do stage performances.
Yes,
so, yeah.
I'm checking my schedule right now.
What were some of the topics?
As long as it's not like last year.
Contact
So
arranger-
in a
Yeah,
very,
yeah.
very, very, very subtle way, that message was received. They threw out, oh my God, there were so many suggestions. One is discussing like, affordable housing. I don't know, there were so many ideas that I'm like, I don't have the lingo for it, and I just,
Yep.
they have really good pizza there, so I go. But let's be clear, I just went, I think the last time I went was maybe August or September,
Well,
cause I legit
yeah.
forget. But he emailed me and I figured he really needed me there, cause the past couple times they didn't have a quorum. But they have pizza there, it's so good.
Where was it?
It's in North Haven, at the.
Scrog office, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
behind,
okay.
it's right next to McDonald's. So as people were just tossing out ideas, I really wasn't paying
Yeah.
attention.
So one of
So-
the things, last year they did on affordable housing. So.
No, the
hope-
guy that,
Yeah, they did.
Oh, it was?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
okay.
Data Haven,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we were, talking
Maybe
about
if they do
getting
a
somebody a
different
little.
subject.
Yeah, so that message was received, somebody, a little bit more engaged, or maybe more than one speaker, a couple different topics.
Right, a panel is always good, you know,
Yeah.
to have, I always find that it's useful to have like one person, an expert on something, and then maybe have like members of the commissions talk
Yeah.
and share what works well, what
Yeah.
doesn't.
So
More
there were a
interactive.
few ideas put, and, it was interesting, cause somebody put an idea out there that was more, regional, and then I was like, isn't this the meeting that people on planning and zoning come to? And I said, well, that person sounds like we would wanna hear them. So it's like, I don't know the different levels, like why, like, they talk more regional, and then
Right.
somebody threw out an idea to like more local planning and zoning issues, and, so there are a few ideas and discussions, and I was like, well, I'd like to hear something a little bit more relative to planning and zoning, but then, I don't know, there's a
Yeah.
lot of people in there that have been doing this a while that, I still feel like a fish out of water, but, I can eat with them. I hold down the eating part with them. So yeah, there's still, don't know where, I think he even asked ideas for where.
So that would be, if that's the 9th, that would be the following Thursday.
Yes.
So Alex is not gonna be there. There's a good chance that I'm not gonna be here. So what I'm gonna recommend that we, at the next meeting, we really take a look at what we have.
Okay.
And maybe make a decision about canceling, because it looks like we've kind of completed, unless there's a number of new things coming up.
Okay.
Which I think you mentioned there might be. But if we
Yes.
can maybe, if there's items that we can hold over another 2 weeks, then.
Okay.
Instead of just coming in for a couple hours to do,
Right.
or not even a couple hours, a couple minutes to do
Right.
some small things. We'll take a look on the 12th.
So-
And then, Gary, isn't there something on December 5th, that training?
Fourth.
That's the fourth.
Yes,
Tuesday the
so, right, if you all could attend that,
Yeah,
that
that
would be
sounds
great.
super interesting.
Um,
All of the commissions and boards in town are invited, or?
Yes,
Like even Board of Ed?
yes,
Oh, interesting.
yep.
And who's doing it, the lady?
Vin Marino, so he's also from Cohen and Wolf.
Oh,
But
okay.
he's who sits at the town council meetings. And he ran a similar, or the exact same meeting for Park and Rec.
Great.
What's the subject?
Like how to run a meeting essentially, and
Right.
meeting protocol and social media, like do's and don'ts, and, like Robert's Rules of Order, or motions, but then also things like, preconceived notion, like those kinds of things of someone approaches you at the grocery store and starts talking about an application, or they're an expert on something.
Does he
what
already
you
have
say,
his
how do you
agenda
handle that?
set?
I think so. But if you have suggestions, send them
Mhm.
to me and I can forward them.
I do, I have a
To
big
him.
one.
Is,
Okay.
what's, December 4th is
Like a
a
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Six
First
to
Wednesday of
8.
December.
And that's gonna be here?
Yep.
So, one thing I would just like to know, I mean, I could always ask them, the way different boards and commissions run, are they all supposed to be run exactly the same? Or does each board, like, when we do a roll call vote, we state a reason. I think when, town council, they just vote yes or no. So.
Right, well, and so ours, I think each board is a little different depending on, like, when you guys
State
state a
reasons as
reason,
well.
it's for like a zone change. So for site plan, you don't state a reason.
Right.
But special use and public hearings, you do when it's zone change. So, I think there's protocol that he'll go over, like, technically you're supposed to make a motion, have a second, and then you can open it up for discussion.
Right.
And
You know,
even little
doesn't-
question. Oh.
That doesn't always happen, sometimes there's discussion before, which
Right.
is natural, and I think that's
Like on the
fine.
last two we did, that's why I had you open up, make a motion, and we get more into that, but,
Second, yeah.
so, you can make a motion to approve, but then
Then
vote
it's a
no.
Right.
I mean, so I'm just,
Yeah, right.
yeah, I mean, if somebody's completely dead set against making a motion on this, and you want a motion to deny,
Mm.
that may be for another discussion.
Mhm.
But if you can make a motion to approve,
Mhm.
and as you're partway there.
Well,
then,
and
you
through
know,
the discussion, you may
You
end
could
up.
change your mind, well, yeah,
Changing your
yeah,
mind.
either way, yeah.
So to piggyback on what you just said, Harry, it goes into that, the other training that, Carrie mentioned to us, was it start of November, the one at
Oh,
Branford?
yes.
I forget the guy's name, the one from the
Bruce
Yukon
Hyde?
extension. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he made a very good point on that.
So you attended that, right?
Yeah, I was the only one from our town to
Yeah,
attend.
that's awesome.
And, I
Gold
honestly,
star.
I know.
Well, I honestly, I told a lot of the guys here at the town hall, we should have him come just for training for everyone, cause there's a lot of things I saw there that, I'll leave it at that. But, one of the main things was making a motion, how you make the motion, and if you made the motion to deny, and it was even an even vote, or you
Correct.
couldn't conclude to it,
It goes
then
through.
technically it goes through and it passes.
Mhm.
Well,
If you made it
that's-
to deny and it went through.
So that's with any vote, if we do two, if it's a tie vote, it's a failure.
Right, the motion fails.
The
Right.
motion fails, but if you stated it,
As a
motion
denial,
to
it goes through.
denial,
That
then
motion
it goes
fails.
through, no, it
No,
goes
Then it
through.
no, the motion to deny fails, but doesn't mean it's necessarily approved, cause the motion was not to approve.
Not necessarily,
Well,
it's
it
how you
depends
word
on what it is
Yeah.
too. So if it's a
Yes.
special, or if it's a site plan, right,
Well,
then.
yeah.
It depended on the circumstances, but
Yeah.
he said that you
Right.
really have to watch on that.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
one thing that I will do, that, and I will ask this.
Do you have the notes?
I'll ask this person, in the meetings, when there's, if we're not sure which way it's going,
Mhm.
and especially if there's 4 of us or even 3 of us, sometimes taking a straw vote, just to get general consensus, not saying where you thinking. Am I thinking, I don't wanna approve this, cause then you can make sure that you have a motion at least that is in the ballpark. So if everybody was against it, but we had to make a motion to approve, that doesn't make any sense. It would be a motion to deny, and so sometimes you would, I get a feeling of what direction you're
Mhm.
going in, people are going in, but when there's times when I don't really know, or I'm not unsure, where then you might need to take a straw vote, just to get an idea of what type of motion we should start with.
Yeah, I remember that point from that meeting when I went to a couple years ago as well.
Cause I've only used,
But
I
it's
think
in
I've
the
only used it
slides.
once,
Mhm.
I've only used it once, maybe.
May bring them on the board.
I think maybe twice.
Or have them on the
And the only time I've seen it, when I was, when somebody else was a commissioner, there was 4 of us, and he didn't think, he thought, he knew that there were some against and some for. And so we did a straw vote, because again, if it was a 2-2, there's other.
Mm.
Well, he answers to questions like, do we have to read the entire motion to approve?
Yes.
Like, he'll
Right.
know the answers to
That
those
should
questions.
that should go to our lawyer, that should go to town attorney, cause.
That's him, yeah.
Well,
Oh, wait,
that's
who's that?
been at the meeting coming up.
What happened?
The guy
to-
who's,
Who's our,
well, Barbara,
well, yeah.
right, so they're with the same firm.
Oh, okay, all right.
They're with
yeah.
the same firm, so I can ask Barbara
Yeah.
Schellenberg, who's the land use expert in their office, but Vin Marino is doing the
Yeah, 'cause read all
meeting, and
those.
he should know
Map
as
3
well.
of 5.
But I
map
can ask
4
for
of
that too.
5, like, come on.
That's true.
And if we have to, we have to, but it would be nice to know legally.
Right.
I just, yeah, I mean, I think it's always been done that way, I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the case, but if you just read the application number 2019-7,
Yeah, like, why do we
I would
need
assume
that?
everything under application 2007, all the maps and
Applies.
stuff, that's my assumption, but I'm not gonna make.
Yeah,
not
but he'll know the
when it
answer
come-
for
yeah,
that.
not when it comes to approving something. So, that's that.
Are there
Anything
gonna be
else,
any
Carrie?
refreshments at that?
I actually suggested that.
No, we're not having pizza.
No, I want
Why not?
I want a catered brunch.
It's 6 o'clock at night?
So I,
Okay.
yeah,
It's
Early
six
bird-
to eight.
The early bird special.
Now I'm with you, I'm getting there, Ron, I'm officially in.
Any,
My card's on the.
holiday money we could,
I suggested it, I mean, I wouldn't expect more than cookies and
like 6 to
cider
8,
or
that's dinner
something.
time.
I know, me,
Oh, you could really-
it's a lot of people. maybe they'll switch for pizza, I don't know.
Make motion?
Scrog spoils.
Do I have to come up with a reason?
Yeah.
Ask them on the floor.
I motion we adjourn.
I-
Second.
All in favor? Aye.